Hi, I'm Harisis and welcome to the Insights Lane, where I break down data analytics concepts into small, easy to understand bits. Today we're talking about SQL, a language used to interact with data. And to make it really simple, we'll explain everything using something that everybody knows, a library. So grab your imaginary library card and let's get started. Now imagine you walk into a massive library, but this is not just a library. It's a library that holds every book ever written, every magazine ever printed, and every newspaper ever published. That's what a database is. A big, organized place that holds a lot of information instead of books. Now in the library, you have to organize this information in a way. That's why you have bookshelves that have labels on them, and you have the books in the bookshelves. Now within a database, the information is organized in what's called tables. And as a bookshelf has a lot of books, a table has a lot of rows. Imagine a table as a big Excel sheet with several rows in there. That's basically how it is. So to recap, library, database, bookshelves, tables, books in the bookshelves, rows in the table. Now how do you use a massive library? Most probably you would ask the librarian. You wouldn't go searching around to each one of the shelves on your own. You wouldn't find what you want and it would take so much time. Instead, you would ask the librarian things such as, can I see all the mystery books you have that are published after 2010? Or who is the author of The Lord of the Rings? Or how many books do you have in that genre? That's SQL for you. It's your way to interact with this huge collection of information and get back what you need. Let's walk through some common SQL operations using, as always, the library analogy. Let's say you ask your librarian, can you show me the titles and authors from the mystery bookshelf? You're asking the librarian to open a bookshelf and look for this specific kind of information for all the books in there and get back to you with that. This would be a select from statement in SQL language. Then you might ask, show me only books that are written from Agatha Christie. Then you basically limit a bit your question, you kind of filter it. And in SQL language, that's happening with the where statement. Then you might ask, can you sort the books in this mystery bookshelf for me and give it back ordered by published year? You're asking again for the same books from the same bookshelf, but in this case, you want it rearranged in a way that makes sense to you, ordered by year in this example. Then you might ask, how many books do you have for each one of the different genres? Now you're asking the librarian to summarize this information across all different bookshelves and group it by some kind of category, in this case, the genre of the book. Another example is when you have two pieces of information in different places that you would like them combined. For example, let's assume that in the bookshelf A, you have books and the author name next to them, while in bookshelf B, you have the author name as well as some biography for each one of the authors. And let's say that you would like to put all this together, so have in one place the book name, the author name, as well as the information about their life. Well, you can do it, because in bookshelf A, you have the different books and the author ID, and you can match it or map it with the information that you have in the bookshelf B. For each one of the author IDs, you can find the respective biography. And that's the idea of join, which is a very common concept in SQL, which is about combining two pieces of information from two different places, having a common link. In our example, the author ID. Imagine then that you have a new book that you would like to give as a present to the library. So you can bring it to the librarian and say, hey, I have this mystery book that I don't need anymore. Put it in the library. This is also something that you can do in SQL, and it's called insert statement, where you're inserting, you are providing new information into your big database. Now let's imagine that you have a book that is old, obsolete, and it's not used by any of the library members. You can throw that away. And in the same way, you have the possibility to delete some piece of information from your database if it's not needed anymore. And that's also something that you can do with SQL. Before we wrap up, 3 things that you can remember about SQL. Firstly, as different librarians might speak a different language in different countries, SQL also has its own dialects. You can use SQL to interact with different database systems such as MySQL, PostgreSQL or SQLite. Each one of those database systems has its own differences, so the SQL syntax will be a bit different, but the fundamentals and the main ideas remain the same. Number 2, SQL is just one part of working with data. Think of SQL as the language you need in order to get the books that you want out of the bookshelves. But what you do afterwards is just as important. Yes, SQL will bring you the books, but then you still have to summarize it, analyze it, or interpret it. Lastly, you do not need to memorize any SQL code. It's just a matter of learning how to ask. You have to think, what info do I need? Where do I get it from? Do I need to sort it in a way or filter it? Once you know what you're asking for, SQL becomes easy. It's just a matter of translating what you're thinking into the right syntax. So there you have it, SQL explained as a library. All in all, it's not just about writing code, it's about thinking how to ask and how to organize information. And both of these skills are pretty valuable in any data role. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like or subscribe for future simple breakdowns of different data concepts. Thanks for watching. And next time you're entering a library, just remember you're walking into a giant database.